Hello, this is the meeting of November 2017, and would like to take a few moments to welcome everyone. Again, make sure that you reach out if you have any questions about anything in this webinar, or to your colleagues and peers across the district if you have specific questions about how things are done in certain buildings. I'm going to start today with the PowerPoint from this month's meeting. And so we'll begin. All right, get through these slides. Our agenda for today, we're going to focus mostly on the access test because that's the nearest assessment that's coming up in December. We'll spend some time talking about the ACT. We'll briefly review some of the changes that are coming up in school report cards, and then just touch base on the climate survey, Dane County Youth Assessment, and a reminder about opt-outs. So as we move forward, we can see that there are three phases to our planning for access. The first phase was mostly about professional development and preparation work. That is complete. Right now we're in phase 2 from October 27th through the 5th of December. And the focus really here is on preparing what happens at the buildings. If you have new staff who are not trained on giving the access, now is the time to have them start taking the professional development for access. Also, beginning to think about how you're going to schedule students in, what that's going to look like as you actually begin the testing, which will begin on December 5th. Now, things that are going on right now. Professional development takes place online. It is approximately 2 hours worth of professional development. In some cases, you have people who have taken the WETA screener professional development, and that is actually very similar to what is going to be going on for the access test. The difference is the WETA screener is actually scored by the individual who is giving the assessment, whereas the access test is scored by the vendor. So there's actually more professional development involved around the WETA screener and the access. The WETA screener professional development, the access professional development, as I said before, is about 2 hours in length. I believe there are 3 different quizzes that they have to take, and upon completion, there is a certificate. This certificate does not need to be printed out unless you or your building principal wants to have a copy of that on site. I'll be able to tell whether or not somebody has completed the professional development process by logging into weta.us on my own. So it doesn't need to come to me. As far as building schedules are concerned, need to be thinking about this right now. We have both the access test and the alternate access. So both of these have the same window going on in the buildings. We will be getting tickets to you. And again, those tickets will be in 4 different colors. So each one of the domains will have a separate color. So it should be easy to determine in which domain you're looking for just based on the color alone. A reminder that all the sessions are pre-populated by grade. So you'll have the session, you'll have listening for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And finally, a reminder that any changes, and I'll say this several times during this webinar, any changes to a student's supports or accommodations or any settings require to have a new ticket printed. So if we, for instance, print all the tickets and send them to you, and then somebody says we've had a change in the IEP, that's great. Make sure you tell us. But we will need to have you throw out their old tickets and print new tickets that reflect those changes to the settings in the software. Also, during the 27th through the 5th window, you probably have students who are new to the U.S. that have not taken access before. You also have mostly have students who have taken access. So as far as reviewing sample questions, it's my recommendation that you absolutely do a sample test, a sample review of questions for those students who have never taken access before. Give them some sense of what this test is about, what they will be asked to do. If students have taken the access, there really is no need for that. Also, if as we move forward, we'll talk about determining if there are any students in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grades that will need to handwrite their response to the writing component versus the using the keyboard. This does require a change in the software setting for that individual student, so you need to request that through us, and you will then be asked to get a new ticket. Okay, so when the window opens on December 5th, which is a Tuesday, the reminder again that the first two components of the assessment are the listening component and the reading domain, so both those domains. You will get tickets printed for these particular sessions. Here is something you need to know about the tickets. Nothing has changed from last year, so there will be 4 tickets to a page. They will be 4 tickets for 4 separate students on the page. Again, the sessions are created by grades, grade levels. Tickets will be in alphabetical order by grade, and you will be receiving those as soon as possible, probably during the first week in December, the 4th through the 8th. That's because we don't get the go-ahead to actually begin printing until the prior Friday, I believe somewhere around the 30th of November, the 1st of December. So it's going to take us a while to print all these tickets and get them to you. If you have testing scheduled on the 5th of December already, please let us know so that we can make sure we'll prioritize getting those tickets to you first. Another reminder that the writing and the speaking levels come after the listening and reading components. And what that requires is you will get a report as to which tier for writing and speaking the student will be at. You can mix the tiers as far as tier A and tier BC in the same group. So you can have small groups set up for testing after the first components, and it doesn't matter what tier they're on. Please keep in mind that in any of these, listening, reading, writing, or speaking, once you begin the subtest, you must complete it that day. You can stop. For instance, if you start in the morning, a student is taking longer than expected, you can stop and continue testing in the afternoon after lunch, for instance, but you must complete that test on that day. Information as well for you, the cutoff for adding new students, the last day that we're going to add new students and then expect that they be tested for access is on January 26th, which is a Friday. It's the Friday before the window closes, so you'll have a week in which students arrive. You will not be expected to assess them on the access test. A reminder, here's this process. Any student who arrives at any time, regardless of what day they arrive, you must give them the WETA screener if there is some triggers that suggest that the student is an English language learner. So regardless of when the student arrives, you have to give the WETA screener first. If they are an ELL student, as determined by the screener, then the January 26th date kicks in. So if they arrive on the 26th, which is a Friday, you give them the screener. Yes, they are an English language learner. Then on Monday, they should be added to the access list of students that are expected to be assessed at your building. If they arrive after that, you still give them the WETA screener, but then we do not do the access testing this year. When students log in, I talked briefly about the ability to give them practice questions. This is the login. So on a Chromebook, which is how we assess the access test, on a Chromebook, students will log in on the lower right-hand side, lower left-hand side of the screen. They will log in. They will have under the apps menu, there will be a DRC Insight Online Testing app. Click on that, and here's the login screen, the screen that they begin with. So they will begin by potentially clicking on the test practice or the test demo site. Once they're ready to go and begin testing, click on the Access for ELS 2.0, and then they will be asked to enter their username and password, which will take them to the specific portion of the test that you're using that ticket for. Now, when you get the tickets, several things. First of all, at the top, you will see what the domain is that you're testing for. This particular one happens to be speaking in the grade band of 6 through 8. This is where you'll find the student name, first and last name. Up here at the top, it should be in bold. You'll find their birth date here as well. Now, please notice that there are accommodations listed. There will only be 3 accommodations listed. If a student has, for instance, a support that's needed, such as extended time, small group setting, please make sure that please understand that those don't necessarily show up on this particular screen or on the ticket. There are only 3 different specific options, and we'll take a look at what those are in a minute. Also keep in mind that there will be the test session name, so it will be generic grade 9 or generic grade 10. So this way, this should help you in identifying who this student is. Now, normally in the past, we've had it where it says district student ID, and that you can, if you have 2 students with very similar names, to avoid any confusion, you would typically check their student ID. This has changed for the 2017-2018 school year. Instead of being the district student ID, it will be the state student ID, which is a 10-digit number. That is available on IC. However, it's not typically how we, as a district, use student ID numbers. So here's what I would suggest. If you know you have students that typically are confused, same name, etc., you may want to just on their ticket write on the side here their student ID number so that you're certain that the correct student gets the correct ticket. So also on the bottom of this, you'll see that here's their username as well as the password. So that should be unique for every student. Each student will have the same username regardless of what assessment, which domain they're testing in, but will have a different password. You'll notice on the bottom ticket on this page that there are no accommodations, so it will appear as NA. Now, the codes, as I said, the 3 codes that are going to be on the tickets, potentially on the tickets for accommodations. First is ES for extended speaking response time. Speaking is the only domain in which there is a 30-minute block of time for speaking. The reason for this is that should be plenty of time for students to actually speak and get their voices recorded in response to the prompts. Speaking is oftentimes one of those areas where students will simply take a lot of time thinking about things, and there's a lot of silence. And so in order to keep moving students along, this is the only timed assessment. If they have extended speaking response time, then that is time and a half at least. Another item that you would find would be MC for manual control. This is for having things read to them, so basically text to speech. It would be directions, questions, etc. would be read to them. What will not be read is the reading portions of the test. So listening, speaking, writing will have pieces read to them. The reading domain is designed to test reading. So there will not be this particular option on the reading portion. RA is repeat the audio item, so they can click a repeat, so it will read things over and over and over again. And again, this will not be for the reading domain. All right, we're going to take a look at a couple different pieces as far as writing is concerned. If you have students who are either inexperienced, unfamiliar, or uncomfortable with keyboarding, most oftentimes it will be a student who is new to the country, who has not had experience working a keyboard. You make the call. I am not going to make the call on whether a student fits this description or not. If you decide as a staff, as a building, that you have certain students who need to physically write in a booklet for the writing portion of this assessment, let us know. So it applies only to the writing portion of the test in grades 4 through 12. Students will need to have a changed ticket. It will say HW for handwriting on the ticket. And they still need to log into the computer, sign in with their username and password. And what will be different is that on the screen, instead of showing you the prompt and then having space to write things in, there will be just the prompt, and they will not have the ability to use the keyboard at all. So the expectation is that they will handwrite their response on the paper booklet. So they are expected to participate in the online portion of all the other domains. So again, the ticket will be writing HW. They need the ticket. Prompts are online. Let us know if there are any changes, because we need to go behind the scenes and change it. Sarah Wallner and myself, we will make these changes and then let you know that there are new tickets available so that you can print them. We also will be sending out booklets to you to make sure that you have the handwriting booklet if necessary. Please give us a heads up of 3 days and time to turn around and get these tickets as well as the books in your hands. Please email them so that we have record, so that a phone call is nice, but in how busy it's going to be, it may be forgotten. As I get older, I will forget these kinds of things. Other things we've talked about already: students can be in either tier and group together, grade level, within the grade level cluster. You can have them all in the same room. The only caveat is that there will be different times when students finish. Students that are in tier A typically take about 45 minutes for the writing component. Students who are in tier BC take approximately 60 minutes. So if you have them mixed in the same group, make sure that the students who are in tier A have something to do while they're waiting for the students in tier BC to be completed. Don't have them getting up and leaving, as it's very distracting for those who are still testing. Remember that this is Chromebooks only. You do need to have headsets for the speaking portion. You need to have headphones for all the other domains. So students for the entire test will have something over their heads and be listening at all times. Now, question has been raised: do we have to have headphones for everyone, or can they bring in earbuds? I would prefer headphones because they also help block noise that's in the room or in the hallway. However, if students are able to bring in their own earbuds and that's their preferred way of listening, then please, by all means, allow them. They do need to have headsets that we provide for the speaking component of the assessment. And again, the speaking component should not have more than 6 students at a time, as that does a couple things. If you get larger groups, it's more difficult to manage if there's questions, as well as the amount of noise in the room as you've got larger groups of students speaking. Now, let me stop here. I'm going to back out of this. I do want to point out that there is a very important point for you when you log into WETA AMS. So here we are at AMS screen. I'm going to log in. Actually, each of you should be having this available, if not already, within the next day or two. So once you log in, you'll be able to go to the all applications, and I'll show you that in a second. Here we go. Please note, DRC has some very amazingly similar login screens for both the WETA and the forward test. So if you are thinking about, wow, this looks familiar, it's because it is. Also notice that at the bottom of the screen is the test demo. It's a video. as well as sample items that students can actually use. So you can click on this as well as the student login page to get those kinds of supports. Now, when you will log in and you are going to, for instance, you're going to print tickets. Here's something that's very important as this page comes up. Because this system is used for several different assessments, you need to make sure that, notice that under test administration, that when you select the test, that you select access for ELLs 2.0 and in this year, 17-18. You could also select screener, but that will get you different information. They've also left previous access administrations on this dropdown, and I'm not sure why, but please make sure that you select the access for ELLs 2.0 17-18. Once you've done that, I'm going to just pick on a school. We're going to go to East High, and then if you would like to see the sessions that are there, or if you want to print the tickets, this will be the detail that you will have. Notice that it starts with Madison East High, generic grade 12 for the listening. Now, these buttons over here, you'll be able to edit and print tickets, or if you want to open a session, just continue clicking on this and you'll be able to open up a session if you need a ticket for a specific student. So if I click on the tickets, edit, print tickets, this will bring up a screen in just a moment that will show me all the students who are already in that session, grade 12 listening. And now I can do either print all the students' tickets, or if I just need one student, I can click on the box in front of their name and then print selected student. As there are many students in this, you can see that there are at least 7 pages of students who are in this particular level. There are 64 students. If you would like to just locate them by typing in their last name, you can do that. That's a quicker way of finding them as well. Okay, now let's move back to the PowerPoint. And there's another way you can also, once the test window opens, you'll be able to monitor student progress. You'll be able to see whether or not students have actually completed the different components or are awaiting to test. One of the things that pops up as far as troubleshooting is concerned is that there are times in which you get to the writing or the speaking components and it says they won't be able to log in. We found that the very last screen on the reading or listening sometimes is not clicked on. So the very last thing that a student does is click the submit button. If they say, yeah, I'm done, and then they close the Chromebook, that does not submit their assessment. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to go back, log in using their speaking or listening ticket, and just open it up to see whether or not they've completed it. If they have not completed it, it should open up to the last page that they were on, and you need to hit submit. So that would be one way of fixing the problem where a student is not able to actually log in to do the writing or the speaking component. And again, you can monitor student progress on the student management page, and once the system goes live, it'll be a tab for student test progress. Okay, shifting gears. Now let's talk about the steps that you'll need to take for this fall as far as the ACT is concerned. All test administrators should be able to log into Pearson Access Next. I'm in the process of ensuring that that's all set for everyone. So if you still are not able to do that, please let me know. Once you have logged in as the test coordinator, you will need to log in and provide access to specific folks in your building as far as who is the TAA coordinator, the test administration, accessibility and administration, excuse me, test accessibility and accommodations site. It's usually someone in your either in your student services department. And this year, because we're adding English language learners to the mix, may have to have someone else in that department help them out. You can start entering supports and accommodations right now through January 12th. As this year, there are no non-college reportable options. Students will either have to take the standard ACT or they will take the ACT with accommodations approved by ACT. Those are the two options that we have this year. Now, once you've gotten that ball rolling, you will be able to find out from ACT how quickly that they will be approved or not approved, what questions they have, etc. The sooner you start this, the better. As we get closer and closer to January 12th, there will be more and more people across the state who will be filling this out, and it takes longer to get a response. We have begun updating our department ACT pages, so you will be able to log in and take a look at that as well. Upcoming training sessions for test administrators include November 30th at 2 p.m. and January 18th at 2 p.m. These 1-hour webinars are put on by ACT and DPI, and they will be recorded and posted on DPI's website if you're not able to participate. First one was already took place at the beginning of November, and it was on accommodations. So you may want to check that out. All right, let's just finish up a couple things with the ACT. You do need to keep in mind that it is a junior-only day on that day, that it takes a full 5 hours in order to complete the ACT plus writing assessment. So if you need a snack, if you want to provide some kind of a lunch for students, please feel free to do that. I'm working with transportation services to ensure that we have options for students who don't necessarily have independent transportation, so that they can get home safely. And we'll continue on this conversation as we move forward in the next couple weeks. Now, state report cards are being released on Tuesday, November 21st. There are some changes. Number one is test participation is no longer included in the state level report cards. It will be on the federal reporting, which will be a year from now. We'll talk about that, obviously, in more detail as we move forward. So, a couple other things. February is going to be both the climate survey from the district and the Dane County Youth Assessment Survey. So both of those will be going on at the same time. And a reminder that if you do have opt-outs, please get them in writing via email or handwritten note, and you need to forward a copy of that to either Sarah Wallner or myself as we gear up to ensure that we provide assessment opportunities for all students. As always, if you have questions, please let us know. We're here to help you and support you as we go through this assessment cycle and as we gear up for the big spring assessment season. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it, and have a good day.